from the Crypt.
Hello, boys and ghouls. Welcome to episode 36 of Dads From The Crypt, a Tales From The Crypt podcast. My name is Jason, and I'm joined by Jody.
Hello.
And Mondo.
Man, that's 2 weeks in a row now. You've said Jody first.
I thought that too.
I know, right? Jason just throwing curveballs over there.
Moving up in the ranks.
Right.
And we don't have a guest tonight. We're taking a little break off. We've had some amazing guests the last couple of weeks, but we want to take things back to the original, go back to basics a little bit, have the bring the band back a little bit.
This is like when Metallica kicked out Dave Mustaine. Is that? Oh no, wait. That'd be we kicked out one of us.
The fourth dad that we've edited out of every episode.
Yeah, we just edit them out every episode, and that guy had a drug problem, so it's fine.
But now he has his own podcast that's well respected and
that's well respected, but just shittier.
Actually, I think Megadeth's coming with a new album. Did I see that?
I don't know. Was Dave Mustaine able to get off 4chan for long enough to write a new record?
Okay.
You know, Dave Mustaine just got his purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
No, I'm not on the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Reddits.
Well, you don't have to be. I mean, it's on music publications and just regular media. But yeah, he got his blue belt. So I don't know, man. I'm thinking it's fake. I'm thinking like he just took a bunch of privates and roll with anybody. That guy looks pretty frail, right? Like if he moved the wrong way, some limbs could just fall off.
You can still shred though.
I mean, my kids do karate, so you know, after you do it for a while, you realize that there are some dojos that you just kind of, you know, pay your fee every month and you get a new belt after a certain amount of time. So,
no, Jody's not joking, man. Jody is not joking. Like it's funny because I doubt any of the people I'm about to call. I'm not going to call anybody by name, Jim, but some people. Just kidding. Some people at our dojo have left and quickly gotten another belt when they went to another dojo, and they won't come back to the school to just even. We're like, you should come back and just come to a class because they know what's up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there are dojos that make you work for it, and then there are the ones that make you pay for it.
Yeah. Do you guys pay for testing?
No, the testing they don't pay any extra for it,
Good.
but they do have to work. I mean,
oh no, that's what I mean.
This dojo makes them work for it. I
mean, there are a lot of schools, and this is in jiu-jitsu, anything where you pay $150 for your belt test, and most people always pass their belt tests because they paid $150.
Right.
We don't do that. We just do it like we don't even do testing. It's if our instructor, if our professor Sim thinks you're ready for your belt, you get your belt. If you're not ready, you don't get your belt. And that's why when I first started this school, my buddy Phil who started, he's like, you know what? It takes a long time to earn your belt at this school. Like it's notorious for taking a long time to earn your belts. But when you get that belt, you're that belt everywhere in the world, as opposed to like when we get people come from other schools that are higher belts and our lower belts are just smashing the fuck out of them. And that's not everywhere. Don't get me wrong. Like there are some really, there are a lot of great martial arts schools around in the world. So what we're probably talking about is like the 5% that probably shouldn't be martial arts schools.
Sure.
Anybody wants to come fight us, you can have Jody's address. We'll take you down.
I can't. I was gonna say I can't do anything, but I do have a little army that I can send after you. They all know karate.
If you see the Webster clan running at you, you should be terrified.
The web.
Oh man. Right. If you get a big enough family tree, you could call it the World Wide Web. The World Wide Webster.
Yeah. Okay, we're going somewhere with that.
Okay, never mind.
Gotta work with it.
All right. Before we get rocking, we've got some announcements, a little business to talk about. Most of you should have been have listened to our Bordello Blood episode, and you might remember there was a trailer for a spin-off podcast called How Not to Make a Movie Podcast by Alan Katz, producer, writer on Bordello Blood and many Tales Script episodes. And that is actually coming out very soon. When this episode comes out on Sunday, on Wednesday, you should be looking out for the new trailer. And the week after that, the episodes will start coming out. So keep an eye out for that. Of course, we'll put it on all of our socials. Additionally, we want to talk about our sponsor, Fright Rags. Their big collections right now is they have a collection for the movie Studio 666 featuring the Foo Fighters. They have some shirts and some other cool tie-in items. And additionally, they have Silver Shamrock just in time for St. Patrick's Day. Silver Shamrock from Halloween 3. And Jody, you were looking at that one, right?
Yeah, no, they've got some great stuff for Halloween 3. They've got a pint glass that looks fantastic. I was just looking too. I don't know if these are restocks or what, but they've got some stuff for Basket Case now, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Motel Hell, Army of Darkness, like all kinds of stuff just suddenly popped up in the store. So I'm excited about what's showing up now.
I'm going to order one of those. They had that cool looking tie-dye Silver Shamrock collectible shirt. I'm definitely going to order that. And Jason, if I do order that shirt, is there something I should type in at the end to make sure I get 10% off?
Well, yes, there is a coupon code Crypt 10 CryptPT10 Crypt 10.
Can we try that one more? Can you spell that one more time, but in English?
In English. It's, you know what? It's daily savings time. I'm a little slurry tonight.
Yeah, this is the worst day of the year.
CRYPT10 Crypt 10.
Jason is slurry. He is a mix of cornstarch and water.
Mm-hmm.
He will thicken your soups.
All right, moving on. Tonight we will be discussing Tales from the Crypt episode Mourning Mess, which premiered on July 31st, 1991. Jody, give us a plot synopsis.
All right, we open on the Crypt Keeper as a chef, continuing these awesome costumes this season. And then we're introduced to a homeless man named Robert who's digging through the trash. He sees a paper with the headline, "Homeless Killings Baffle Police." And then he leaves and gives the paper to another homeless man named Dancer. And after Robert leaves, there's a shadow that appears on the wall, and Dancer gets attacked. And Robert runs to help him, but finds his severed hand still holding a liquor bottle. And then Robert accidentally leaves a bloody handprint behind. So that's our intro. We jump over to an alcoholic reporter named Dale Sweeney, who is in the middle of kicking his one-night stand out of his apartment. He realizes he's late and then rushes to a press conference at a cemetery where the Grateful Homeless Outcast and Unwanted Layaway Society is making an announcement that they're going to be donating money to bury the homeless in this cemetery. All of the members of this society were formerly homeless themselves. And so Dale comes to cover this story. He takes a few minutes to lock a rival reporter in a porta potty. And then their spokesperson, Jess Gilchrist, gets up to talk. Dale asks her why they're donating money to the cemetery over a charity that would actually help the homeless. And she says there's already charities like that out there, and they want to help people when they die. Then we find out from the paper that Robert from earlier is the main suspect in the homeless killings. We take a little detour back. We go back and forth a lot in this one. We find out about Robert. We go back to Dale. Dale gets fired from his job at the paper because he's unreliable and he's an alcoholic, so he doesn't show up on time. And then Dale goes home and Robert has broken into his apartment. Robert puts a gun up to his head and says, "I want you to write an article to clear my name. I'm innocent." And he says, "Go to the cemetery and hang out until sunset. The Grateful Homeless Society is up to something. And if you go do that, I'll name names. I'll tell you all kinds of stuff." So Dale goes to the cemetery. Someone's being buried there, and he runs into Jess. And he invites her to lunch, and they go up to his apartment. And he says, I'm going to tell you about a story I'm writing. After they eat, she asks about that story. He says, "I lied." So they start flirting. She says she's a vegetarian, and then they have sex. And she says he looks good enough to eat. He tells her she's the kind of girl he could spend a lifetime with, and then he secretly turns on a recorder and asks her about the society off the record, supposedly. He notices the tape. She notices the tape player and storms out. She says, you know, the kind of girl you could spend a lifetime with, and replies, I lied. Then Dale goes to talk to Robert in the alley and finds him bleeding from a wound. He tells Robert he didn't find anything at the cemetery. Robert said that you didn't stay long enough. And then Robert dies before he can tell him anything else. Then Dale returns to his apartment, finds out he's evicted, so he is now homeless too. Dale spends his last few dollars on booze and then passes out beside his car in the street. The next day, he goes back to the paper and finds out he's been replaced by the rival reporter that he locked in the porta potty before. So he's getting desperate, and he returns to the cemetery where another burial is happening. As he sits watching, the ground that's piled up after burying the body suddenly sinks down. And so Dale wants to find out what's going on. He digs up the grave, and at the bottom of the grave, instead of a coffin, he finds a door. He falls to the door and ends up in a series of tunnels filled with coffins and bones. And he hears someone coming and jumps into a random coffin, and it has Robert's mutilated remains in it. They're all torn to pieces. His eyeballs are missing. And Dale starts yelling. And then he pushes open the coffin and finds out it's been moved and placed in the center of a dinner table at a very fancy setup. There's plates and napkins, and there's big portraits on the wall of these warriors and older people, but they have these like monster faces. And a member of the society greets him as the other members start to walk in. And they said, you know, he says, who are you? And they said, we were formerly known as the Homeless Killers. And then Dale realizes that the society, the Grateful Homeless Outcast and Unwanted Layaway Society, is an acronym that spells ghouls. The members take off their human masks to reveal their true forms. They've got these just freaking awesome monster mask. The makeup is so cool. And they take off their mask, and the rival reporter comes in, and he's also a ghoul, and he rips off his mask, and then he rips off Dale's ear and eats it right in front of him. And then Jess steps through the door, and she said, oh, I know I said I didn't eat meat. Well, I lied. Just like Dale said, I lied so many times. She takes off her mask and says, I knew you would be good enough to eat, before she then eats him to end the episode. And then we get the Crypt Keeper back as a chef. And it's just a great line reading by John Kassir, where he says something about, if you want dessert, he's got cannibal soup. It's good. So that's it.
Thank you, Jody. Mondo, what'd you think of this episode?
She said she didn't eat meat, but judging by that steamy section, she was probably eating meat all right. That's it. That's all I got. No, I think this might have been one of the weaker of the recent episodes we've watched, but not bad at all. I feel like it was a very solid, good Tales from the Crypt episode. Acting I thought was all really good, nice and hammy. I love the Robert's dead body at the very end. The effects on that,
the effects on that are so
cool. They just nail, man, those like really kind of cool looking set pieces that they do. And all the set pieces at the end too, with all the dungeon and everything. So yeah, I'm gonna say it's a good Tales. Season 3 has just been fucking awesome. We need to keep going season 3. Some of the cool little things. Yeah, I love the acronym Ghoul because it's corny and cheesy and dumb. It's awesome. And imagine the balls you have to be like, yeah, we're ghouls. And then like imagine that conversation they have to decide to name their company company Ghoul, basically. Fucking that's ballsy as shit. Like, we don't care. What are you gonna do? I loved at the end too, the paintings with the ghoul faces.
Mm-hmm.
Just so cool. I do have a question though, and if they're all in their underground lair, why are they still wearing their human masks? Wouldn't that get itchy after wearing that like all day? I feel like that'd be annoying and itchy.
Maybe
so
the ghouls like the itch.
Yeah.
They're just dramatic. They want the big reveal. They're like, if somebody falls down here, we got to be ready for the reveal.
Well, they kind of expect him because they kind of knew what was happening the whole time.
Yeah.
And also the one kind of I did love actually the cinematic shot where he's taking a leak and the lightning hits and you can see Robert in the background looking all creepy in the bathroom. But also, if you just want to talk to a reporter, you can just knock on his door, like hiding in the bathroom with a gun. You didn't have to do that. You just said, hey, dude, I got a story. Doesn't matter what it's about. It could be about a fucking a hamster on an obstacle course, they're gonna want to hear it. Doesn't matter what it is. So I always think that's a funny trope they use in a lot of shows. Like, dude, like you didn't have to point a gun at me. Just tell me the story and I'll talk about it.
Right. You have to break into my apartment and scare the shit out of me. You know?
Right.
Play a gun in my
The only
face.
ways to get a reporter to listen to you is to threaten them. Like they don't want to know the news.
Exactly.
No, don't do my job for me.
And also, what's with this weird thing that you think if you're a reporter for a prestigious newspaper, you should be at least, you know, I'm not going to say you're going to be rich, but I think you should be solid middle class.
Yeah,
I don't know. I
mean,
just don't know.
we're talking 1990, so the newspapers were still doing okay then, right? Like in 2020, 2022, you know, maybe the reporters struggling a little bit more.
Oh yeah, but in 1992, minimum wage could fucking buy you a house.
It seemed like he had like the same apartment that the guy had from Easel Kill Ya, the struggling artist apartment.
Yeah,
that big open floor plan.
There's recently an article where they're asking senior citizens, they're showing them pictures of homes and saying, how much do you think this home is worth? If you want to be really sad, go ahead and watch that video. They showed a picture of like a nice big kind of you know, like maybe a colonial home, and the woman was like, I don't know, it's pretty pricey. $35,000.
Oh, the pain.
All right, Jody, what did you think?
I'm not done yet.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm done.
Moving things along. No, I did enjoy this episode. It's not as good as some of like the highlight episodes, but it's fun. There's fun moments in it. Like Mondo was saying, the ballsiness to actually name your group Ghouls as an acronym. I know TV well enough to know when they said we're the greater homeless and they start saying the whole name, I'm like, that stands for something. There's something going on here. And then later on in the episode, when he goes to the cemetery, it's got the name of them. And I saw that. I'm like, gee, it's ghouls. There's going to be ghouls later in this episode. I know what's going on.
Well, that's funny, 'cause I've seen this episode before, and every time I forget that's an acronym.
Yeah. It's just one of those, you don't name your group something that's like 12 words long if you're not trying to spell something. Like there's got to be something behind it.
Especially the layaways part. That's the one that really
layaways.
What is that doing there?
That's when you put a corpse. You can't pay for it all at once, but you're going to pay for it in installments later. But no, yeah. So I do feel like this is a fun episode. I like the lead character, Brian Weber. He's one of those guys that I like to see and stuff. Rita Wilson, she did a great job, and I know we're gonna get in the cast in a minute, but yeah, I just thought everybody did good, and there's some really cool makeup in this one between Robert's torn apart, I guess, eaten body. We're dealing with the ghouls here. His eaten body, and then the ghouls themselves has some really cool makeup effects. So I enjoyed it a lot. It's not quite at the heights of some of the best episodes, but it's still a really fun episode. I'd definitely watch this one anytime.
Steven Weber was also in Wings, wasn't he?
Yes,
He was in Wings.
Okay.
You know what I did? I said
One of
Brian
those,
Weber instead of Steven Weber because I think his character's name was Brian in Wings.
yeah, I
Oh,
think so
gotcha.
too.
Yeah.
You know, it's impossible to say the word wing 5 times in a row.
I'm not gonna do it.
I'm not gonna try it.
Damn it.
Like this is a setup.
Mondo, prove it.
No, because only I know the punchline.
Jody, go ahead.
I can't.
I promise you it's clean and wholesome.
No, it's not.
It is. It's definitely actually is.
All right. Wings.
Well, you're just supposed to say the word wing, not wings.
Oh,
I'm totally cutting those. I'm totally cutting this out.
that's probably a good idea.
just say wing 5 times quickly.
Wing.
Hello?
Ah,
Ah.
there we go.
Oh, boy.
It's a dad joke. I'm just gonna cut it out and make like you just actually did it. So what's my timestamp? All right, sorry.
All right, I'm gonna hop in here before we go too far off the rails.
I'm way fucking higher than I thought I was.
This is an okay episode. It's definitely not as bad as like Love at First Sight, and a couple of the other more duds that we had. Definitely not as good as the best ones. My my like studio note for this would be like more of the stuff in the tunnels and more with like the ghouls and the makeup and everything, which I'm sure that's stuff that costs the most. But if you're on set, you have this really cool tunnel set. You have these guys in these cool makeup. Do more with it. Like have them like escape, like save the reveal of the Rita Wilson character for like another couple minutes, and then have them like escape and run up to her and like, oh, save me, save me, save me, or something like that, and then have the reveal. Like you could have cut out him getting fired, or him like becoming like a homeless, getting evicted. You could cut out a couple minutes from that. Just give us a little bit more in the tunnels, and that would have, I think, gone a really long way.
They should just straight thrown Ratma in there too. Like just get Ratma in there.
Yeah, get Ratma.
Yeah, I wonder if they were going for the like Tales from the Crypt comic thing where they have like the last panel is where the thing happens and they show the cool stuff. And so maybe he was shooting for that of like, aha, we have the big reveal in the last like minute. But that's the coolest part of the whole thing. Like I agree. I want more of it.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And that's kind of a praise because they gave us something we wanted more. That's always a good thing. But I think it would have made the episode overall better to tighten up.
Real fast. Imagine how much better Steven Weber would have been than Dennis Miller in Bordello of Blood.
Oh my god!
Because if you think about it, they almost play a very similar character.
Yeah,
as him being the reporter trying to figure out the underground society, even including falling into the casket.
I mean, and Steven Weber is great as showing vulnerability, where Dennis Weber like doesn't. He's just like, I'm the man no matter what. But like Steven Weber, let's talk about him. He was the Jack Torrance in the TV version of The Shining, and I think that's a fantastic adaptation.
It is highly underrated. Like, I mean, it definitely shows its television budget, and there's some moments of like some questionable CGI and stuff like that because of that. But as far as his portrayal of Jack Torrance, I prefer it over the movie.
I remember seeing that when it came out and like staying up late to watch it. I was like, I think I was in high school at the time, and yeah, it was really, really good. I love the Kubrick Shining's great on its own too, but as far as like seeing like a tragedy, almost more of a tragedy.
I've honestly, I don't think I've ever seen the miniseries. It's been one of those things that I've been wanting to watch for forever, but just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah, I mean, it shows its age a little bit, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, if you're a Stephen King fan, like that's the adaptation that follows his story.
Nice.
Like the Kubrick adaptation, I feel like is its own thing. But as far as a straight up, like here is trying to communicate what Stephen King wanted, the miniseries does a better job.
Gotcha.
What was I also going to say? Seeing Rita Wilson in that ghoul makeup was really fun. I wanted way more of that.
She also had that cool part too. I don't know if you noticed when they were having coitus, when she was like biting him, like kind of more than just a playful nibble there on the shoulder.
Yeah, that's fun. She was fun in this. I'm glad it wasn't vampires because they've done that so much.
Yeah.
And I know in the comic they make kind of fun of that a little bit. We'll get to that in a second.
Oh, dude, they're basically chuds when you think about it.
Yeah, they're almost chuds.
Yeah.
So it was cool to have a ghoul. I really like that. Again, I wanted more. This is kind of like almost like an inverse of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where you had like these like very rural people who are feasting on other people, and here we have like the upper elite feasting on people. Like I don't know, I feel like there was some weird, interesting mirroring, and there was like kind of a dinner scene. At least that I kind of got vibes right there. It doesn't really go very far with it.
It'd be kind of cool just to because again, it's obviously that these ghouls were a very affluent people in society. If they had something where they were allowing the rich to come into their world for a price, or something, that would be kind of a neat little twist.
Yeah.
The secret society that eats people reminded me of. Did y'all ever watch any of the Masters of Horror movies?
Yes. An interesting tidbit. You have that up there. The guy that did the music for this, Nicholas Pike, did a lot of Masters of Horror episodes.
Okay. There are some really good episodes of that series, and one of them is called The Washingtonians. That's a story by Bentley Little, and it's about a secret society that basically worships George Washington, and George Washington was a cannibal, and they are cannibals now because of George Washington. It's a cool story. Bentley Little's a weird author, and I love his stuff, but it's a fun episode. So yeah, when I saw the like fancy room and they're getting ready to eat somebody, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Well, and it's kind of cool because the portraits on the walls were of that colonial time, so that's pretty neat.
So let's talk about the casting and crew a little bit. So this was directed by Manny Koto, who we should have an interview with a couple days after this episode comes out. His big directing item is Dr. Giggles, or how do they say that in France?
Hey man, I told you guys that in confidence.
Giggle.
Giggly.
That's not how I said it. But
How'd you say it?
it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's in the past, as the wise ape Rafiki once said. Oh, sorry, it's a baboon. It does not matter. It was in the past.
Okay. So he directed Dr. Giggles.
And if you haven't seen Dr. Giggles, you should.
Oh
It's
yeah,
a
again,
fun 90s horror.
Dr.
movie.
Giggles starring Larry Drake.
Yep.
I
Larry
thought you're
Drake.
I thought you're gonna say if you haven't seen the Lion King before,
If you haven't seen The Lion King, you should see that too. It's a good movie.
and your kids haven't seen it, and you want a bunch of crying children, go and show them that too. It's
Yeah.
fine.
All right. So Manny
We can
Koto
have a discussion
also
about that.
wrote and produced for Outer Limits, the series 24, Star Trek Enterprise. He wrote and produced episodes of Dexter and a couple seasons of American Horror Story. So he's rocking it still.
Yeah, and like you guys said, Dr. Giggles is one of those super underrated. I guess you can call it a slasher. Super dark and twisted too. Like
Mhm.
kind of came out of left field. It's a cool movie.
Yeah. Again, we have Steven Weber as Dale Sweeney. He was in Dracula Dead and Loving It. Speaking of,
Yes.
He was
like the Van Helsing, I think?
Harker.
Jonathan
No,
Harker.
Harker.
Yeah, he was
Jonathan Harker. Yeah.
I haven't seen that since like middle school or
It's so
something.
good.
It's so good.
Yeah, that's God, probably ahead of his time too.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the guys that did What We Do in the Shadows didn't see that and be like, all right, we got to work on this. We got to do something.
Yeah.
So Rita Wilson, she was in the Psycho remake. I forgot about that. She was like the other receptionist
I completely forgot about that. too.
that where Anne Heche works. She was in Runaway Bride, Jingle All the Way. She's in a ton of things. And she's also married to future Tales from the Crypt director, I believe, Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
I
oh, wow.
think he directed an episode. All right.
If you have it written down here, she's in Sons of Anarchy. For any
that's the next
Sons of
person.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. Never mind. Oh, wrong person. Sorry.
That's all right. His boss is played by Ali Walker. She was in Universal Soldier, Singles, Profiler, and Sons of Anarchy. Mondo.
Yeah, she was like the biggest heel in that show. Such a great character and a great ending to her. So this is before the show jumped the shark, as they say. I like Sons of Anarchy. I actually like every season of it, but it got a little outlandish at some points. But she was probably one of my favorite heels in that entire show.
Mm-hmm. And then rounding out the cast, we have Vincent. I'm not sure how I'm going to say this. Schiavelli.
That's how I'd say it.
Yeah, as Robert, and man, what a great career that guy's had. He's had so many amazing performances. He was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Ghost. He was in episodes of the X-Files, Lord of Illusions, the Bond film Tomorrow Never Dies. Just such a great guy, such a great actor.
Man, Lord of Illusions too is one of those super underrated films that came out kind of in that weird like early 90s period.
Right.
Such a great movie.
Yeah.
But Vincent Schiavelli is just one of those guys. He just has that face, you know, like that you see and recognize every time he pops up on screen. He's always a welcome addition to anything.
Again, he's one of those actors that has a nice long career, just doing solid work. Never a leading star, but it doesn't matter because you see him. And like, I always love when I see him pop up in anything.
Yeah, no, he
I love
always
a good
makes an
character
impression.
actor.
Yeah.
I love a good character actor.
I mean,
too.
Cuckoo's Nest is like the genesis of the character actor. There's
Yeah.
so many in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, good cast, good directing. Again, I just want more from the ending. But also, yeah, it's funny because you're talking about the acronym, and it made me think of like the first time I saw the original Iron Man, and I forgot what the name is, but there's a government agency that's running around and like the Strategic Homeland
Shield.
Yeah, at the end they're like, we're just gonna go with Shield.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Troll 2 in the town of Nilbog.
Yeah. Whenever you hear just a long name, you're like, they're trying to fit this into something. Like there's a reason they're using all these words for this company. So yeah, I knew something was up pretty quick. And I figured out the ghouls thing when like there's a sign on the cemetery itself. And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
kind of spoiled it for me, but okay.
Well,
No,
and
no.
they do that cool kind of like zoom in. They just zoom past it to make sure you see it.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I looked at my phone.
I was
at that
looking
exact
for it.
moment.
And you know, though, that fits in. Like, if it was a really nuanced hour and 40-minute film about this, I might call that out, right? And be like, come on,
Right.
it's ridiculous. But in Tales from the Crypt, that just fits perfectly. Like, that's what I
Mhm.
want.
Oh yeah, no, like I said, it spoiled it for me, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be ghouls. Cool. I'm ready for them now. And then you only have to wait a couple minutes. They'll show up eventually. Doesn't take long.
Yeah. And I don't know if I mentioned too, also huge Phantasm vibes of this.
Yeah.
Anytime anything happens in a cemetery, I'm immediately just like,
Yeah.
oh, Phantasm.
Yeah, because in Phantasm, they're sitting there waiting for something to happen to the.
Yeah. Yeah.
Grave.
And I'm not going to lie. Originally, that's what I thought it was going to be. It was going to be, oh, they're just funneling these bodies for money. And then I forgot I was watching Tales from the Crypt, where it's going to have some kind of fucked up shit in there.
Not sending to not shrinking them and sending to interdimensional portals.
Yes.
Describe the Phantasm mythology for everyone.
Oh, good luck. I made it through the third movie. I still need to watch a couple
Dude,
more, but I'm working my way.
One of the first ones is and maybe we can talk about it a little later, the save horror brackets. It was against Nightmare on Elm Street, and I already knew it wasn't going to win, but it hurt my soul to vote against Phantasm. I love Phantasm. I actually love the entire series. I do 100. If someone tells me that any of them suck, I'm just like, yep, you're right. They definitely, some of them do, but I still kind of, in my heart of hearts, so I still love them. But that's also, also kind of what I love about horror is that we all have just such very different opinions. But it's all for a love of the genre. And I'm gonna do a little PSA for the people out there, and this is all based around the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If someone likes something and you don't like it, it's cool to disagree. Don't call someone a fucking idiot for liking something you don't like, and vice versa. If you like something, someone else doesn't like it. Hey man, different strokes for different folks. That's the only time I get upset is when people fucking call people names or call them stupid for their opinions. Because guess what, dude? Like, I remember a shout out to Bloody Good Horror. They all hated Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm like, I really enjoyed it. And you know what? That's okay.
Unless the person you're talking to is a fucking Nazi. Then just punch in the face.
So I'm going to actually tell people.
Careful.
I'm getting there, Jason. You'll like where I come around this. If you're face to face with a Nazi and you don't know how to throw a punch, don't fucking punch a Nazi in the face. You're probably going to break your hand. What you should do is unleash a well-placed palm strike to the jaw. Your palm is actually harder than it's less likely to break your palm than your fist, and you can knock a motherfucker out. So palm strike a Nazi today.
And that's our new segment here at Dads From The Crypt, how to hurt Nazis.
Or
I like
go to your local karate school and learn how to kick a Nazi.
There you go.
Or you can come to jiu-jitsu school, learn how to choke a Nazi.
Choke a Nazi.
Don't break your hand.
That's our next t-shirt. Choke a Nazi.
Choke a Nazi.
All right, Jody, let's do a comic comparison.
But only if they're not into it, because you don't want to. Yeah.
All right. On that note, let's talk about the comic here. It came from Tales from the Crypt number 38, which was the October-November 1953 issue. Written again by the big guys, Bill Gaines and Al Feldstein. Artwork by Graham Ingalls. So the same basic story, once again. It starts with a man digging up a grave to try to expose the Grateful Hobos Society. 1950s, you could call the homeless hobos and bums, which they do through the entire episode. Derelicts, all kinds of not so nice names for folks that don't have houses. And so he's digging it up to try to expose them. There's a flashback to a press conference where they announce the Grateful Hobos, Outcast, and Unwanted Layaway Society. So there's a reason why Layaway has appeared to bury the homeless. In the show, he asked, why would you, give money for homeless funerals instead of helping them? And in the show, it says, oh, we're doing this. There's other organizations to help the homeless. In the comic, they say, well, we all used to be homeless and we pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps, so they should too. 1950s conservative values popping out there for you.
Somehow things never changed.
Yeah.
But, but
Yeah.
again, but at least in 1950, like you can go get a job at a local mill and support a family of 4 and buy a house and
it
have
does
a car.
make a difference. Does make a difference. But yeah, no, they don't want to help the homeless until they're dead. In the comic, though, years pass after this initial announcement before he goes digging, because the 1,000th person is being buried there, the 1,000th homeless person. And he goes to report on it. And once he gets there, he realizes this cemetery isn't big enough for 1,000 people. So there's no way they could actually be burying 1,000 people here. They must be stacking the graves or something. That's why he goes to dig up the grave to figure out what's going on. And again, he finds the door, falls through. He's greeted by a member of the society, and the man pulls a gun on him and explains that they got an idea from a horror comic, a Tales from the Crypt story called Mourning Mess, about vampires that start a restaurant to supply themselves with blood. And you know what? That's a real Tales from the Crypt comic from Tales from the Crypt 35, 3 issues previous.
Rovaz, did you find out? Did they ever turn that into a episode?
I don't
think
know.
they do.
I gotta find out.
Hey.
I didn't see Mourning Mess anywhere when I searched it on Google. Mourning Mess only came up with the comic, but yeah,
Let me
that's
see.
3 issues previous to this one.
That's cool. That's so cool.
They had this story about vampires who start a restaurant to get blood, and they said, we're not vampires. We adapted it to our own needs, and that's when he finds out that the Grateful Hobos Outcast and Unwanted Layaway Society stands for ghouls. We don't get a big gruesome ending of just finding out that they're ghouls and they all have kind of monster faces. So, it's the same idea of they're burying the homeless so they can eat them. But they add a whole lot to the story with the whole stuff about him being an alcoholic and the relationship stuff and him losing his job and becoming homeless. Like all of that's been added in the show. And like Jason said, you got to add stuff, but I think maybe adding a little more ghoul stuff might have been beneficial as opposed to adding more like drama about dude's life. Like, okay,
you can add stuff, but you gotta add the good
this
stuff.
it's a 25-minute episode. Like, if you're gonna add stuff, keep it juicy. Like, you don't have to add all drama. Like, add more monsters and shit. Like, that's what I want.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. But not to knock a good slow burn, because like House of the Devil essentially did the same thing.
Yeah.
And I adore that movie. But when you really think about it, it still had a lot of haunted house elements leading up to that. That kind of made you think.
Again, if we're reimagining the episode, he could have discovered the tunnels. He ran into one ghoul, then ran off, and then had to come up with the reason.
Oh yeah, you're definitely not wrong. Yeah,
I'm more like get your mileage out of it.
I mean, I'm totally down for a good slow burn, but not from Tales from the Crypt. Like, that's not. I don't want slow. I want spectacle. I want
respect this. Now, I had another idea for the episode too. At the beginning, they eat the other homeless gentleman, and he definitely had a weird cough/sneeze. And I was thinking, like, it'd been kind of cool if they ate him and then had a giant virus outbreak that killed the entire ghoul community, where 40% of them refused to actually believe that the that the virus existed.
And then the ghoul vaccine comes out, but most of them refuse to take it.
Yeah.
And then they're all wearing masks, so they can't see their teeth. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you went way farther than I was going to go, but yeah,
we've got a sequel. We got a sequel ready to go.
And then the ghouls in Russia attack the ghouls in okay, we're not going there.
Damn it, Jason! Why do you got to take things off the rails, Jason?
I know. I just go there. All right, Joe. Let's start with Mondo. Mondo, what do you rate this episode?
This one could be 3.5. And I think that's probably on the higher end. I was aiming 3 and 3.5. At the end of the day, I really enjoyed it, liked where it went. Acting was fun. So I think 3.5 is a good fair estimation.
All right, Jody.
Yeah, no, I think 3.5 is good too for this one. It's not a bad episode at all. Like, it's a lot of fun. There are things I enjoy about it. It just takes a little too much time getting to the fun stuff. Sorry about that.
What took what? Well, I mean, so I think a funny thing is like sometimes it's kind of funny because in society we see a movie rated 3 stars. We're like, oh, it's no, that's above average. That might be a really great movie.
I mean, 3.5 is 7 out of 10. Like,
Yes,
that's a
it's awesome.
good rating. You know?
It's better than 4 out of 7 or 5 out of 7.
No, I use Letterbox a lot, and my 3-star rating is good. Like if I put 3, it's still a good movie. If I put 2, it's still an okay movie. Like, I don't hate a 2-star movie. Like, there are 2-star movies that are pretty decent, I guess. By the time you get down to 1 star and half star, I'm this bad. But it's okay for a movie to be just fine. The latest Fangoria newsletter had an article that literally was like, it's okay for a movie to just be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay for other people to like a movie you don't like.
Yes.
Or
vice versa.
Just one more time how do the kids say it? For the people in the back.
There you go.
Who are also used the most loyal fans because all they want to do is get in the door. Just saying.
All right. I'm going with a 3, and 3.5 is perfectly fine. I'm just going with the first thing I wrote down.
Oh, we know because we're allowed to have our own opinions.
I know. But yeah, it's an episode where I was left wanting more, and that's a good thing. So I don't know what Mondo's laughing at this point.
You always want to leave people wanting more. That's just the basis of everything in life.
All right. I got nothing to go over with that. Okay, so I'll go with the 3. Let's move on. Mondo, give us your song of the day. Let's jump in.
All righty. Excuse me. There is a band from California. Not your neck of the woods, Jason. They're from Northern California. Made up of 4 members. The members go by the names Cremator, Fermenter, Digester, and Dissector. The band is called Ghoul. What's really fun about
I'm really digging with this.
Does it stand for anything?
No, but they're kind of a cool band, and they do more of a. You can probably say they're death metal, maybe more thrash metal, as far as the music goes. Maybe even grindcore if you want to go that way. They kind of do a lot of different things in their music, but their music is all kind of horror stories. Very horror influenced. The 2 main members are the 2 guys from the band Impaled/Exhumed. Ross Sewage, who, by the way, on Twitter, he's like the nicest guy in the world, and he has a secondary account just to show all the cool action figures he buys. Like when he goes on tour, he goes around and he plays music, and he goes to try to find thrift stores to find old G.I. Joe, Ninja Turtle, Transformers, whatever action figures.
Nice. And
he's a horror fan too. And shout out to Ross. I'm gonna tag him in this because one of the cool things, I think it's his his niece or nephew that's autistic, and he has a lot of good stories about like how like he helps out and how happy he is, and he finds cool things that that they can bond over and stuff like that. So he's Ross is a really good dude that kind of takes like that death metal idea of like, oh, if you're like death metal, you have to be this brawny piece of shit. That he's just a real like laid back guy, and even jokes about how much he shows his feminine side on Twitter because he's just seems like a good dude. And Sean McGrath too, also a fun guy on Twitter. The band Impaled is definitely more gore grind. But anyhow, Ghoul's a fun band, horror aesthetics, and a story throughout all their records. So what we're gonna do today, we're gonna do a record. I think it fits off the album Dungeon Bastards, which was the last record they did in 2016, and we will go with the song Shred the Dead.
There we go. There it is.
I mean, we saw Robert at the end. Robert was definitely shredded. So.
That was my thought right there. And seriously, everyone should go follow Ross Sewage on Twitter. I don't have his handle, but I'll fucking tag him in this because I just love seeing his stuff. And I saw Exhumed play in Flagstaff, Arizona, the first show I saw post-COVID. Nice. And it was them with Enforced Creeping Death, one of my favorite current bands, Bewitcher. And I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty much in tears that show because it felt so good to see live music again. Like it's good for the soul.
Hey, and Mondo, I do have his handle here. It's Sewage666. But his Twitter name currently is She Ross Princes of Power. So I'm down.
He's a rad guy, and it's funny because there's the band that started death metal technically is a band called Death. Chuck Schuldiner, who died of a brain aneurysm or brain cancer in 2001, I think is when he passed away. And he went from being like, the band was called Ripping Corpse, then went to Death. The first record was called Scream Bloody Gore. The final record is called The Sound of Perseverance. And it's kind of cool because you actually listen to those records, you can hear him evolve as a musician, but more so than that, as a lyricist, and how you could tell towards the later records, more introspective, way more like, I never, as I got older, I never really I still appreciate screaming about Satan and all that shit. But sometimes when you can listen, when you can hear great lyrics, even read good lyrics, and really get something from them, I think it's kind of a different level on a lot of places. But the funny part is he used to do interviews wearing like Winnie the Pooh t-shirts and like kitty and cat t-shirts, because he always wanted to. He wasn't the one, like you have Glenn Benton from Deicide that legit burned an upside down cross in his forehead to try to be edgy. Granted, he was 20 when he did this, right? Whatever. But Chuck was always in the opposite spectrum of that, where he wanted to say like, nah, we're just normal people that like to play this extreme form of music as our outlet or as what we love. So I love that Ross is on there just being the anti-death metal person, but also being the most metal motherfucker in the room. So it's pretty cool.
Nice. All right, Jody, give us some trivia.
All right. Before I actually do trivia here, I want to give a quick shout out because I found out that one of my oldest son's friends, Brianna, has listened to our podcast. So I wanted to give her a shout out and also say you're probably too young to be listening to this podcast. So just putting that out there into the world.
How old is she?
15, 14. Somewhere in that neighborhood. It's definitely, it's questionable.
If she leaves us an iTunes review, it's okay.
Yeah.
Jason will do anything for 5 stars and a like.
All right, so our trivia tonight comes courtesy of Jason, who found some cool stuff. Vincent Schiavelli, who we talked about earlier, who played Robert, he appeared in 2 different completely unrelated productions in which he played a hitman targeting a character played by Terry Hatcher. The television series MacGyver and the Bond movie Tomorrow Never Dies. So in both those times, he was a hitman going after Terry Hatcher.
Terry Hatcher from which episode was that?
From Lois and Clark?
No,
let's say from Lois and Clark.
No, from which she was also in Tales from the Crypt.
Yes, she was.
And indeed. Also, while we're on Vincent Schiavelli trivia, while Jason's looking that up, he also shared his birthday November 11th with his Ghost co-star Demi Moore, also November 11th.
Another Tales from the Crypt alum.
That's right. And Ghost also starred Patrick Swayze, who, like Schiavelli, died of cancer at the age of 57. So a depressing end to this trivia, but lots of weird coincidences there.
But we can go another way, though, how Patrick Swayze was in the movie Roadhouse.
He was indeed.
With professional wrestler Terry Funk. The Funkster.
Roadhouse was directed by
Come on,
John Harrison.
No, Rowdy Harrison. Harrington.
Rowdy Harrington.
I knew I was right there on top of it. He has directed an episode of Tales from the Crypt, and Jason has interviewed him.
But great guy. I'm going to wrap on the last episode because I don't think Terry Funk ever had a match with The Undertaker. But in Hell in the Cell in 1998, when The Undertaker chokeslammed Mankind through the cell and he hit the ground and I don't know how he survived. They knew like, oh shit, he might be dead. We should buy some time. So Terry Funk, being his best friend, got in the ring and punched The Undertaker, and The Undertaker chokeslammed him. And being the best pro wrestler in the world, you can see where he kind of kicked his shoes off halfway. So he got chokeslammed. He got chokeslammed out of his shoes, and his shoes were sitting in the ring.
And that was improvised?
Yeah.
Wow.
Terry Funk is possibly the greatest pro wrestler in our generation. I once, back in the early 90s, we had a promotion here in Las Vegas called NWC. And Sabu, Rob Van Dam, Terry Funk, Virgil, the Ultimate Warrior wrestled the show, Cactus Jack later, McFoley Mankind, all wrestled there, and he was actually there, and me and a friend of mine met him, and I think he says to every kid, but he goes, "Whatever you do, just stay in school." We're like, okay. So later on, we met him in Philadelphia at the ECW reunion show. I think it was in 03, maybe it was 05, and met Terry Funk. He goes, "You're still staying in school?" I was like, I said, "We graduate." He goes, "As you should," or something like that. And just probably the best pro wrestler of all time to say.
That's awesome. All right. That was trivia. Thank you, Jody. Ask dad advice. What do we got?
Don't take an edible and then start drinking.
And then podcast. Is that what we're trying to say?
This shit will happen. I don't know.
Can we talk about the horror March Madness?
That's not dad advice, dude. Like, we can talk about that, but that's not dad advice.
All
I
right.
think we're doing a disservice. So I got it.
Okay. Miles gonna have fun editing this.
I wrote down the one timestamp I think I need to edit. And if you guys listen at about 20 minutes, you're like, what the fuck just happened? Then you'll know I didn't edit it. If this makes no sense to you, then I edited it. So I actually have this is actually a good piece of dad advice. So let's talk about air conditioners and HVAC systems.
Yes. Let's.
I was thinking today, because it was shorts and flip-flop weathers in Las Vegas today, which is how it should be. Like, if global warming means everything around me burns down, but Nevada still has like nice, cool springs, like, I'm for it. As long as I get some water. But most HVAC systems. So when they go out, there's one small little piece that like controls your entire HVAC system. Do you guys know what this is?
Well, why don't you explain what an HVAC system? Let's set the table here.
Are you serious, dude?
Well, see, Jason lives in California, and I know too many people in California who are like, yeah, we don't have air conditioning. We don't need it.
Jay's like, dude, it's 82 here year round. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
We live in a beautiful place with beautiful weather. I live in a place where one day, well, last week, it was 75 all week long. And last night it was 12 because we had snow.
Holy shit. I'm
in Tennessee. I'm not even in the north. It was 75 for a week. It was beautiful. We wore t-shirts, and then it snowed, and it was 12 degrees that night. So yes, I know what an HVAC system is, but for the Californians in our audience.
Yeah, some bullshit, man. Like, it's funny because when I went to go see Allison, and I was in New York for work and saw Allison out there from the Who's There podcast, and she still makes fun of me for only bringing hoodies. And I'm like, I live in the fucking desert. Like, I don't live in an area where I should ever have to have a winter coat. So HVAC system being your air conditioning system.
And heating.
Well,
and heating.
Yeah, but a lot of times usually you have your air conditioning like unit outside your house, inside your house. Hopefully it's not in the roof, because you have to replace that shit. It's like $5,000 in labor alone.
No, I used to live in an apartment, and they had that on the roof, and it went out, and they had to like get a crane. It was a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was terrible.
But one of the most common, and this is why I say this, coming up we're getting towards the warmer months. Anyone living in an area where it's warm, your HVAC system is put through a lot of stress. Mine's put through a lot of stress living in Las Vegas, where, I mean, a month from now will be 100 degrees. There's a little converter in there. One second. I'm a pro, so unlike Jody, I burp off air.
Jody was exerting his dominance.
No, I love it. I love it. There is a little, dude, my brain is so fucked up right now. It's a little round cylindrical piece that all the thing does. That's where the fuse is connected to it. Like, God, I was looking like, what the fuck is the guy talking about? Look up cylindrical power for your AC unit, because 90% of AC units, when they stop working, it's because that little converter goes out, which basically regulates the power. So all you got to do is get yourself a little what's the thing? Two little prongs, press on things, and it gives you the voltage.
A meter?
It's a meter, but it's got a specific name to it. What the fuck is happening tonight? I would call it a micrometer. It's not that, dude. Like, just fucking go to your hardware store and say, I need something that measures voltage. Costs like $20. You go and you press it at both ends. If you're under a certain amount, it's that little converter piece. But the reason I say this is, as a guy who's working on his own AC now, thankfully to people in my gym who know AC work, 90% of air conditioning units when they go out, it's a $12 piece to replace. Anyone with a screwdriver and a sober mindset can replace. I say sober because you got to fucking turn those fuses off, because you will shock the shit out of yourself if you don't. But it just going to the hotter months, man. Just like if your AC goes out, go buy a meter thingy, whatever it's called, that tests the voltage of things, and test a little round cylindrical capacitor at your AC. And just Google this, it'll make more sense. And you can fix your AC though, usually for like $12-13, as opposed to calling someone out and having them charge you $300-400 to someone you could have done yourself.
Yeah, my sister-in-law lives out in Phoenix, and they have, there's a 2-story house, one like with the one main level, and then the one that's like below level. And they have 2 AC units.
Oh yeah,
two completely.
We
separate.
have 2.
It blows my mind.
No, we have 2. We have one for upstairs, one for downstairs.
Yeah, like,
it's because to have the size of one you would need to cool that large of a house by itself would be just dumb, because it made no sense out in the desert.
It just mentally makes me think, like, are humans meant to live in a place where you need 2 AC units to survive?
I mean, they're fossils here, right? So maybe, I don't know.
Human fossils.
I mean, you could probably live without AC. It wouldn't be comfortable.
Yeah. I'd be miserable without AC.
The problem is people in Las Vegas fucking, like, we have tourists die every year because they come in June, 110 degrees outside, and they think, I'm going to do all day. Instead of drinking water, I'm going to drink beer and vodka.
Yeah.
And they dehydrate and they die, and they deserve it, because your body will tell you that you need water. Like, when you feel some cramping or like you feel weird, your body's like, dude, we need some water. Yeah. And if you don't listen to it, you die. Good. You can go to fucking Ghouls and get eaten. Like,
we usually go there for like Thanksgiving or during the winter months, and it's fine. But I think last year there was an event that we decided to go out for, and we went in August last year, and I wasn't drinking or anything. I could just feel the moisture from my body just being like soaked out from the air. It was
it's dry in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Like, you will have the air like evaporate the liquid out of your body if you're not prepared. Be prepared. Drink your water. It's all right.
Realistically, in the summertime, I drink probably a gallon to a gallon and a half of water a day, and that's just from driving to and from work. And then if I train, probably up to 3 gallons a day. This is, your body will literally drop that much water.
See, I don't have to drink that much water where I live because our air is swamp hot, which it's thick and wet all the time. So we just absorb water through our skin like we're like fish people out here. Just part of living in the South.
Jason started laughing at thick and wet, and I couldn't let it go.
Yep, I knew as I said it.
Well, that's how we get the term swamp ass. Is well, and like, to be fair too, it's out here, it's dry. One of the nice things, I've been to Florida in the summertime, and it's, you fucking take a shower and walk outside your hotel room, and you're just drenched in sweat again.
Yep.
So I kind of don't hate the dry heat. Like, I've been here for 30 years. I have no plans on leaving, so let's put it that way.
Yeah, but you were talking about fixing your air conditioner. If you can do basic home maintenance, like how to deal with electricity, you know how to turn off your breaker box and use a screwdriver and a wrench and a wire cutter, things like that, and you have YouTube, you can fix a lot of stuff at your house.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Just learn some basic skills, wire stripping, screws, stuff like that, and get on YouTube. I don't pay for stuff if I can help it, because I will always try to fix it myself if I can. I don't mess with plumbing because I've had some bad experiences with plumbing. Plumbing's a whole different issue. But if it's electrical, and you feel like you have some basic skills, I think you can do a lot more than you think you can.
I agree. I pay for a lot of stuff because I'm like, fuck, it's gonna take 4 hours. I'll pay someone to do it. But for most things, like, I fix my washing machine, I fix my dryer, I fix my dishwasher. all on YouTube, and it
Mhm.
cost me 1/10 of what it would have to get some out here. And also, like, when it comes to the time factor, cool, I can do it myself, or I can sit in my house and wait around in a 6-hour window for someone to show up and do it. So it's
100%.
now yard work. Yeah, man, like, just give me a company and tell me how much it costs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'll pay someone to mow my lawn. Actually, that's a nice thing about having kids. You pay your kids to mow your lawn.
Do you really pay them, or do you pay them in character?
No, we actually do. That's above and
That's good.
beyond. Like we clean the house and things like that. That's one of those like expectations of you're part of the house, you live here, you have to do some chores and things like that. But mowing, I always put that at kind of a different level. And if they mow, they do make a little cash.
Well,
It's a good way for them to earn a little money.
There's the snake factor.
There could be snakes. There frequently are snakes, but sometimes you might run across a tiny little turtle, like I did one time when I was mowing, and you get to hold a cool little turtle. So there's
That's cool. I
bonuses.
can dig the turtles.
We just get what animals now? I have pigeons. I have a duck pond by my house, so I hear goose or geese flying every morning, and then I get hummingbirds. So I don't have any. Oh, I get lizards. My dogs learn where the lizards live and dig up the grass there, and they run away. They try to eat them. So at least once a week, I find a half-eaten lizard in my house.
Oh. Yeah, my dog, chasing all of the lizards and the squirrels. He hasn't caught anything yet, but it's only a matter
We
of
don't
time.
have squirrels here. I think it's too hot for squirrels here.
Yeah.
But I'm cool. I have hummingbird feeders, and I wake up in the morning and watch my hummingbirds eat. And I haven't seen Frank very often lately, so I need to figure that one out. But
Well, we were leaving my dog's food on our back porch in like a big, like, closed container.
Mhm.
And we had raccoons getting into it. Like, it was all banged up and scratched up.
Yeah, I can't do that. We have coyotes and raccoons and possums that will
Yeah.
get into dog food if you leave it outside.
It's supposed to be like airtight, so I thought it'd be okay, but apparently not.
they can smell. They can smell more than any of us can. I remember going to we were in San Francisco a long time ago, and Kel went to sleep. She was tired. I'm going to take a little walk right by the bay. I'm going to walk on the bay. So I walk over to the trash can, and I can't see at night. Like, my night vision is terrible because I'm colorblind. I wear glasses, and I'm going to. I'll clean the car out. So I'm cleaning the car out of the trash, throwing shit in the trash can. And I hear, and I look up, and I see his eyes meet mine, and there's 3 big ass. Like, I'm just throwing shit in the trash can, not paying attention, and there's 3 raccoons. Like, what the fuck is this guy doing here? Like, does he not respect us? But I was like, I'm going to back away slowly, and you guys continue with your meeting.
No rabies for you.
No, raccoons are, man. Raccoons look adorable. They're mean as fuck.
Yeah, they are.
Yes, don't mess with it. More dad advice: don't mess with a raccoon.
Yeah, I think because I didn't know they were there, I kind of had that alpha vibe, right? Because like, I didn't know they were there. They're like, this fucking guy's serious. He's not afraid of us. Then once I realized, I was like, oh yeah, no.
They win.
You guys win. Also, shout out to Bob's Burgers and Linda for trying to have the rat date on
That's
Valentine's
exactly
Day.
what I was just thinking.
Alrighty then. I think that wraps up another episode. Next week, we will be reviewing a Split Second. We would really appreciate it if you would give us a rating and review on iTunes and a rating on Spotify. And with that, we thank you for listening to Dads from the Crypt.
Follow Dads from the Crypt on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or I will follow you to the grave. No, seriously, you really should watch. But be careful what you ask for. You may get it.